Hey Jesse, did you hear the news?
Gas prices have gone up. I don't know.
No.
COVID cases skyrocketed in New South Wales.
No. The Taliban have taken over Afghanistan. Lachie Neale's coming back to Freo, baby!
Oh, that's the worst possible news of the three.
Hello you plonkers and welcome back to another video on the Drewzy channel, and it's a special one today. The news has broke that Lachie Neale potentially wants to come back to Fremantle. And Jesse, you're a smart man, a journalistic, animalistic man. How did this story break?
I believe Ryan Daniels broke the story, who works for Seven,
yeah,
and does a bit of work with the Eagles, and generally a pretty well-respected journalist. So I find myself, when I see Ryan Daniels break a story, I generally trust it. Generally doesn't talk a bit of shit, so I think there's something in this one.
Yeah, they lost to the Dogs on Saturday night narrowly. And he's only won one final in his time at Brisbane, as good as they have been, but I think his girlfriend's from Perth and she wants to raise a family in WA. Similar story to Des Headland, who went over to Brisbane. He wanted to start his family up in Perth, so moved back. And yes, Lachie Neale, after 3 or 4 years away from the Dockerland, wants to return. So what do you think we would have to give up for him? I think the only thing that makes sense is it's going to have to be like a 3-way trade between Freo, Carlton and Brisbane. Something to do with Chera and the picks that we get in. Is that how you see it going?
Yeah, whether it doesn't necessarily have to be a 3-way trade, but it probably relies on the Chera deal going ahead first, so that you say trade Chera for pick 6 and change or whatever Fremantle get out of that. You think pick 6 would be part of that?
Yeah.
And then you're left with what, pick 6 and 9 or something like that. I think Brisbane will require that as a starting point.
Yeah.
He has 2 years left on his contract. He's just gone up there.
Yeah.
They apparently didn't know about it until the story broke in the media.
Rats.
And they haven't heard anything from Neale.
Okay.
I think there's a good chance Brisbane dig in here. I think your 2 top 10 picks will be a starting point, and there's a good chance Lachie Neale does not get traded.
Yeah, that's stinky to hear, because I really do want a top 10 pick. The draftee that I most want, upon reflection of what I've seen this season, is Matthew Johnson. I think he's going to probably be the best prospect out of WA. He shot down Horn Francis in that national champs game. Yes, shut down. That's not mean it. Shut down. Skepta.
Well, I'm skeptical that this trade's going ahead.
So Lachie Neale joined Brisbane at a time where you could see they had a lot of young talent and they were emerging. Couldn't quite crack the top 8. So yeah, they had a lot of young promise and they just couldn't quite get into the 8. They just needed that X factor, and Lachie Neale proved to be that player for them. He took a lot from Nat Fyfe, I believe, and took his experience and finals experience, which he had at Freo, up to Brisbane. And they've been a consistent top 8 side. You could even say consistent top 4 side ever since. It's good signs that Lachie Neale has gone to a developing side and he's built them up into a top 8 side. Because Freo were probably in that same boat that Brisbane were when he joined, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I do agree with that. What did he get traded for? I don't think I remember exactly, but I think pick 6 was involved, ironically, and then it got messy because you ended up trading it for Hogan and Lobb. But yeah, Lachie Neale was nowhere near as established as he is now. He's won at Brownlow since then. So you think, well, on that basis, he's going to cost more than he was. Yeah. You're going to make a loss on Lachie Neale in that sense.
Well, we'll give them Darcy Tucker, Blake Acres, James Aish as a starting point. There you go. We'll go from there.
Brett Bewley recently.
Toby Watson. Just stuck up their list.
The only way you could get away with keeping a top 10 pick this year is you offer one of those top 10 picks and the future first, but I don't think Brisbane will let that happen. If you assume that Fremantle are going to get better next year, they're going to dig in and say 2 top 10 picks. For Fremantle's perspective, I think 2 top 10 picks, I think I would pay that.
Really?
But I don't think it'll get it done on its own, to be completely honest.
That'd be rough. So obviously Chera has requested a trade back to Victoria, and when that happened, I didn't really think there was going to be any massive midfielders on the market who would want to come play for Freo this season, and he's a completely different player to Chera. Chera is sort of that outside player that will get you lots of inside 50s in a game and have a lot of the uncontested balls and make things happen. Gross. But he's a very similar mould, or Serong is a very similar mould to him, like gets to the bottom of the pack, digs it out, runs very hard both ways, and has really good tackling pressure as well. So you look at Brisbane, Dane Zorko is a similar player to that as well, racks up the ball quite a lot, very gritty player, so it could be a formula that possibly works between him, Brayshaw, and Serong as well, because if I think properly, which I think I am, Brisbane don't have a very tall midfield, do they? Yeah, I think Neale will work in this midfield, even though Serong is quite a similar player to him. So yeah, with Chera leaving, I sort of thought that the rebuild could take a massive hit just because of how important he has been for us. But as I said, it's not a like-for-like replacement, but it's just about as good as you'll get to replace Adam Chera. And Lachie Neale's obviously a player that can join that almost leadership group. I doubt he'd go in straight away, but he can really develop all these young players that we've got coming through because he knows what it takes to be the best. Obviously a Brownlow medalist. He was our best and fairest the year that he left. So he's not going to have any problems fitting in either.
Can I raise a bit of an elephant in the room that we haven't touched on yet?
Mate, winner.
He bailed on Fremantle, which you can understand. That does happen. Going in one direction, like...
Harry Styles.
Harry Styles. Yeah. He wanted to leave to go to a club on the up, right? Why is he halfway through the next contract decided, actually, you know what? I want to raise a family back home. Surely at 24, 25 years of old when he left, he would have seen that he was probably going to have a kid in the next 3 years. You can't even say the extent of his contract. I don't know what's happening in his personal life. There may be extenuating circumstances, but on the surface, this doesn't reflect well on Lachie Neale.
The thing that makes the most sense for me, a lot of sense, is Ross Lyon. I think his man management as a coach sort of started to get a bit stinky towards the end of his stint at Freo.
His man management got a bit stinky. It's so gross.
Bit pooey. But you saw Ed Langdon come out in the media last week and say if you didn't look Ross Lyon in the eye, he'd yell at you. He left the last season of Ross Lyon being there, if I remember correctly. So he obviously didn't see the future that Freo had at the time. No one really did when we were under Ross Lyon getting pumped by West Coast, and it was a crap time to be at Freo. And now maybe that Longmuir has come in. He's played against Freo. He can see the young talent, and hopefully he's bought into the future in some ways. He's been there before, and he likes what he sees.
Fair enough. Lachie Neale probably does look at Fremantle and think, okay, that is a better place to play than it was 2 years ago.
Left,
but you've made a commitment.
Yeah.
You've made a commitment to the Brisbane Lions. Where is the loyalty?
Freo! The loyalty is at Freo!
Yeah, I mean, I do respect that. I guess he wants to go and pay for the club that, raised him, like drafted him and stuff like that. He's not a mercenary. He wants to go play for the club that he loves playing for.
Yeah.
But it's still, I think it's pretty dodgy on the surface, but there could be other shit going on.
Do you think this could propel Freo into the top 8 next season?
Yeah, I do. Definitely. You take Chero out, you add Neale in, I think they improve. Fremantle will probably still trending upwards, but for me the doubt was around will they do enough to leapfrog other teams, because we had 4 teams miss the finals this year that we all expected to make. You got Richmond, GWS, West Coast, St Kilda. Not GWS, sorry. What was the other one? Collingwood.
Yeah.
Okay, Collingwood's probably the outlier there. Of those 3, I'd expect them to be in the mix again, but Fremantle probably just didn't have that jump in them. But if you had Lachie Neale, and I think I probably would predict them to make the top 8, to be honest.
We are trending upwards, and that's gonna wrap up the video for today. So Lachie Neale, please come home. I'll be here waiting with a warm hug. So please come home.
He's not coming home now, buddy.
Rats. Make sure you check out the Drew Footy Show tomorrow. We're about to go film that. Just a tip. We're filming lots of videos today, so make sure you check them out across both of our channels. True Footy's channel will be in the description. Thank you guys for watching. Take care. You plonkers.
Goodbye.
Nice.